Hey, everybody. Welcome back to After Wine School. I am Keith Wallace, and I am here with the delightful Alana Zerbe.
Thank you, Keith. That's so nice.
I try to be nice.
You do.
And today, we're doing a road trip. The Forgotten Wines of America. I love this. This is everything. It's history. It's grapes. It's actually the movement of people. Like, the grapes, where they're growing in America, in all these weird and lovely pockets, they were brought by people who just came to America, came to Ellis Island, and just moving across the country, wherever it was, and then to plant their vines, extend their culture. Because the truth is in wine, people go to a place that they recognize. Like, there's a reason why the Germans ended up in New Jersey and New York, and why the Italians ended up in California. Like, there's reasons for this. And that's what we're going to explore today. All the wonderful things that Americans have done, bringing wine grapes, the completely unknown, the forgotten and the lost, to America.
So I'm going to kick us off.
Okay.
Keith,
All right. Where we're going.
Because I have a very special region close to my heart, and that is Virginia.
Yeah.
We're starting on the East Coast, and we're starting with the place that first had Vitis vinifera vineyards in the United States, and that would be around Jamestown. So Jamestown Colony, this was the first place in America where they started to grow Vitis vinifera. Now, infamously, vinifera could not thrive in the humid, hot climate of Southern Virginia. And even Thomas Jefferson, probably the country's first oenophile, he nearly bankrupted the treasury with his wine collection. As he traveled throughout France, he was a huge collector of wines. And he planted vines at his estate Monticello in Charlottesville. They never thrived. So Virginia, there was a lot of potential. There was a lot of desire for wine, but it never took off. It was really in the 1970s when folks were interested in making fine wine. And what they drew upon were two grape varieties that early on became Virginia's signature. The first is Vitis vinifera. It was the white grape Viognier. So Virginia Viognier became quite well known. And then another grape, the Norton grape. Now, Norton is a hybrid of a Native American variety. It's a grape that is inky, spicy. It can be very delicious, although it's highly variable. But the wonderful thing about Virginia is that there has always been a really close collaboration among growers, winemakers, and the government. They are very keen on promoting their wines through things like the Governor's Cup. And so Virginia is a place that had an early troubled start, but really hit its stride when a winery by the name of Barbersville came into the Monticello AVA. And these were Italian winemakers.
Yes.
And they started growing grapes like Sangiovese and Nebbiolo. And that blew everybody's minds.
Oh, yeah. That Nebbiolo to this day is phenomenal. Their reserve Nebbiolo, that blows anyone's mind. Now, yeah, their Cab Franc is great too, but my God, that is such a great bottle of wine. Now, when I started making wine on the East Coast, I started trading my wines with everybody else, and I got in Norton's, and I was so impressed. Certain vintages, they were just astounding. But then some vintages, they were just, there's a little bit of a Pez dispenser there some years, and that just kind of freaked me out a little bit. Depends on what you think about Pez dispensers, I guess.
Fair.
But so a couple things in Virginia that I absolutely love. First off, Sauvignon Blanc. East Coast, but especially in Virginia, it does some rockin' wines. You can use it just like you use Sauvignon Blanc, but I do like it a little bit richer, a little heavier, maybe even a little bit of oak. Really fantastic. But my all-time favorite, what they're doing with Petit Verdot. Now, Petit Verdot, this Bordeaux blend wine, usually it's just like adding color. And in Bordeaux, it actually oftentimes rots. But here in Virginia, it thrives. And it fully ripens to this beautiful, inky wine. I absolutely love it. I even love it better when it's co-fermented with a white wine, specifically Petit Manseng. But Petit Manseng itself, why it works is because it has really thick skins for a white wine. And traditionally, you can make it a dessert wine with it. It's fantastic. A little skin contact, orange wine, a little sweet, fantastic. But as a white wine, oh, it just brings in a little bit of aromatics, a lot of nuance. Love it. Absolutely love it. I'm really bullish on Virginia, especially Northern Virginia, especially like Loudoun County area. They're doing some real great stuff.
Yeah,
Real
it's
great stuff.
exciting. It just gets better and better.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So heading north, let's stop in the Finger Lakes.
Please.
Because the Finger Lakes is a region that has really broken through for East Coast wines. It's become internationally known. There's French investment happening there now. It's really exciting. And it all got its start in the 1960s from a Ukrainian winemaker, Dr. Konstantin Frank. You can visit his eponymous winery there still today. It's interesting.
Nice.
Eastern Europe has had a huge influence
Oh.
in our wine culture here. And certainly Dr. Konstantin Frank, he took a look around at the Finger Lakes region and he had a strong hunch that Riesling would be the standout grape. And he was right. And he has made this a well-known, iconic region for Riesling. But what people don't know is another grape that he loved was the Georgian grape Saperavi. And you can find growing in the Finger Lakes till this day.
Saperavi is insane. It took us, and I mean all of us in the wine trade, 50 years to figure out what Dr. Frank knew. I didn't even realize he brought it in, but also you see Austrians coming in. The Austrian grape varieties are just insane. Blaufränkisch and Gruner Veltliner. Now, Gruner is, in my mind, is actually going toe-to-toe with the Riesling, and these are just aromatic, intense, stony wines that are like the perfect accompaniment to oysters. East Coast oysters, nothing better. Fantastic. And then Blaufränkisch, though. Now, Blaufränkisch is one of my favorite grapes. I love Austrian reds. I just always have, always will. And they do incredibly well on the East Coast.
So we're going to drop down to Pennsylvania.
All right.
Because that's where you'll find the Wine School of Philadelphia.
We got to represent. We have to represent.
We have to. And Pennsylvania's wine history goes back quite far. William Penn was a vintner. Lemon Hill was the site of his vineyards. And in Montgomery County, right outside of Pennsylvania, we have the first commercial winery, PA Vine Co. I think I've mentioned that before. Students are always surprised when I mention to them that Vine Street in Philadelphia is not just the street you take to get great fluff.
Yeah.
It was actually lined with vines. Now, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I grew up knowing the grape Chambourcin. Now, Keith has a different impression of Chambourcin. In my estimation, this is a grape that would not inspire a lot of love in wine in a young person, at least not when I was coming of age as a little baby Gen Xer. So I had to leave Pennsylvania, really, to get into wine. Chambourcin is long been known as the stalwart grape of Pennsylvania vineyards, but up-and-coming things, definitely things like Gruner Veltliner.
Oh, yes.
Gale and Glen in the Lehigh Valley. I want to give them a shout out. They are absolutely outstanding. And Saperavi. Saperavi is making its way to Pennsylvania, and Faro Vineyards is doing an absolutely stellar version. And the sort of minor grape that people are becoming most familiar with in Pennsylvania wine is Cabernet Franc. Definitely recommend folks give that a try.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna step back on Chambourcin for a second.
Okay.
All right, because you're so wrong about this. Now, I will understand, because I've had one of the worst wines I've ever had was a Chambourcin grown in Australia and made as bubbly. That bubbly Chambourcin, that was perhaps the most bizarre experience ever. I still, to this day, I have trauma. But I have made great Chambourcin. Now, this is a grape that they had to outlaw in France. Like French winemakers in the Languedoc and the Rhone, they used it in their Rhone-style blends and absolutely loved it. The country had to outlaw it to force them to stop using it. And they still will use it once in a while to sneak it in, whatever vineyards they have left. But that's how it's done. Now, if you have a little Grenache or a little Syrah to blend in there and co-ferment, it's absolutely fantastic. But you do need to have old vineyards. You have to have old vineyards, and you have to actually want to make it with whole berry, whole cluster with the stems to bring in some more tannins, some richness. Because if you treat it like most people treat it, like just like, oh, it's a throwaway wine, it doesn't taste great. They oftentimes will do it with a like carbonic, so it's actually like this fake fruity note to it. Because it does ferments very quickly and very hot, so you can actually end up getting those flavors, and you compound that with its native heritage, it can go real like fake. Like, you know that there's that candy that's like, what is that? It's like lavender. No, it's actually like violet candy, like that old grandma candy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it kind of tastes like that.
Okay.
It can taste really weird, but you have to work. If you work against that, it could be absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But sadly, no one's doing that anymore. I was very fortunate that people invested their time and money so I could do those. So it can be great. I'm not saying anyone's making it great, but let's give Chambourcin a chance. But also something else that no one's making at all anymore that does insanely well in PA is Barbera. Now, again, I was given a small vineyard that I could play with, and it had a huge chunk of Barbera there, and it was beautiful. It was the best fruit outside of Cabernet Franc that I worked with in Pennsylvania. But there was so little of it that I had to blend it with other grapes just to get a product out. So no one ever got to taste it, ever. And I have for 20 years been saying Barbera in Pennsylvania, Barbera in Pennsylvania. But no one's listened to me.
So that's Pennsylvania. I
Yeah.
have to mention New Jersey. New Jersey is one of these places that they've been cultivating the grape with much success. They have a deep portfolio. I would highly recommend grapes like Cabernet, Chardonnay. Their Sauvignon Blancs are excellent. They really are hewing to a more traditional French-inspired
Very much.
style of winemaking. So don't sleep on New Jersey. Now, Vermont. Vermont. Before we
Yes.
leave the East Coast, I just want to give a shout out specifically to Domaine La Garagiste. I kind of have a girl crush. No, I do have a girl
Oh,
on
yeah.
Deidre Heekin. She's magical. She is doing things with hybrid grapes and Native American grapes that no one else has had as much success with. And she's really spawned, I think, a whole movement. So Vermont has become this really interesting hotspot for natural wines and for wines made from really interesting grapes. So make space in your wine cellar for a bottle of Garagiste wine.
Yeah. For instance, Treminets. Treminets.
The whites, yeah.
The whites. That Gewürztraminer bastard child
Yes.
is amazing.
Yes.
And she does a red too. And I
The
actually
Marquette. Thank you.
Marquette. Okay. That one, that should be grown everywhere on the East Coast. These are two very new hybrids, I think like 2006. The fact that they've innovated, they've actually put these in the ground and are growing them and with great success. Oh yeah. Okay. Now let's just go someplace a little bit more conservative. Let's just jump right into Texas. Texas is known, and you should know it for Tempranillo. Now, this is not surprising. If you've ever been actually up in the high plains of Texas, when you're up there, you look around and you're like, this looks like the Ribera del Duero in Spain. And sure enough, Spanish immigrants, they moved here. They looked around, they're like, yep. And they planted Tempranillo, the grape that everyone knows from Rioja, but grows throughout, especially in Ribera del Duero as well. And these are remarkable wines. And it's hard because this is one of the few places that Tempranillo has done really well.
Yes. And also in Texas, they are growing Tannat there. And I can't think of a better pairing with a big cowboy steak than Tannat. So they are nailing it. That's a perfect pairing.
And that's the amazing thing. If you look around this world, around the country, and you see grapes growing, you're like, what is that? And it's like, where's that from? Well, most likely immigrants from that place brought it with them. And it's still thriving to this day. All right.
This is for you because to know Keith is to know your love of the forgotten grapes
True.
of California. And we talked a little bit in our episode on California wine. We talked about Charbonneau, but this is your time. This is
Yes.
the space for you to expound on all those grapes
That
are unknown, unheralded, but beloved by winemakers like yourself.
And as you said, this is my time to shine.
Yes.
This is my time to shine. Because, the last episode we did, I talked a little bit,
Right.
but not enough. Because California is the immigrant story. Everyone who landed in New York and noped out of New York, East Coast, like my family's like, oh, we like this. It's cold. We're Scottish. We're like, it's dreary. It rains all the time. It's cold far too long. What's not to love about this? So, okay, we have to start with the French migrants. Like we forget that, so much of our population, especially on the West Coast, we're actually French immigrants. And one of the grapes that they brought and they planted, especially in the Clarksville area, was Chenin Blanc.
Mm.
Now, there's a little bit of it left. One of the most interesting bottles I've ever had was actually one of our students sent me that she and her partner then, they hadn't started a winery yet, but they were about to, with this bottle of Chenin Blanc that he had out of Clarksville. He actually sourced it from this old gully, that vineyard they were still growing there, but pre-phylloxera vines. My God, that was insane. But then there's also Semillon, also like now some of the Bordelais who actually emigrated into Sonoma region back when it was just a gold mine. Fantastic. You can still find a little bit around there. But my favorite, my absolute favorite, anyone who ever travels into San Francisco, okay? Now, everyone's just driving north to Napa or Sonoma, but go south, go a little bit, right? And on the highway, right? As you're there and you'll actually see vineyards. Like you will see vineyards, but these are like gotta be scrappy looking vineyards. And like, you're like, why are they growing vines there? And this is in Costa Contra area. And
Contra Costa.
Contra Costa,
Contra
thank you.
Costa.
I always get that
I know.
wrong. Contra Costa. But these vines, even though I can't pronounce the area, Carignan is this amazing grape that was very popular back in the 1800s in France, and actually throughout much of the Mediterranean basin. And so they grew it here. Now it's not famous anymore. It's not popular anymore. And it was popular because it produced so much. And it made very thin, acrid wines, because that's what people wanted. They wanted a lot of wine with little effort. Well, the fact that these vineyards are so old, they produce very, very little fruits. So now you just have this massively concentrated Carignan. And there's only a few places in the world where you have vineyards of Carignan. One of the other ones actually is Priorat. These wines, these old vine Carignan, astounding. I mean, I love them, but they are very intense. Like there is incredible fruit, but also incredible barnyard. How I like to describe it is you have a room full, like a family of fruit. Some are strawberries, some are blackberries, some are blueberries. You have all of them, but they're really old and they all have had to retire. And there's a retirement home, this whole family. And now, mind you, they're a little incontinent. They smoke a lot. These are not healthy fruits. And you walk into their room because they're too cheap to get too many rooms. They have one room for all these fruits, all these old, degenerate, incontinent fruit. And you walk in and you smell it. And that's what this wine smells like. The aroma is that room. The look you're giving me right now is really intense. And I know that I'm going to insist on this being kept in because it is so intense. And so I use this wines in classes because it shocks people into the 1800s. It shocks people how much they love it, how much they hate it. And you can see that emotions ripple through on such an important wine. Now, another one. You see Alicante Boucher grown everywhere. This is also here, Keith actually can't pronounce something else. Teinturier?
Yes.
Oh, did I get it?
Yes.
Okay, this is also just like the Saperavi. Now, this was actually the wine that grew throughout Northern California. It's actually the wine that, when you were talking about the bricks of wine in our Prohibition episode, well, that's what this was. They were all, right? Because so you drop it in, and because the grapes are actually red in the inside out, so you make red wine, a guaranteed red wine. I love these grapes. I love this. Very little of it still produced. There's more of it produced now in Portugal than actually in America, but they're great. And a little bit in Spain as well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful tour. The lost grapes that live in your dark heart. The lost grapes of California. But no, there are great stories with all of them. And that's what's so interesting. So we're going to end with just some shout outs to other places that are doing interesting things. We can talk endlessly about California. There's so much more out there.
Oh, Idaho. I mean, of all places, Idaho. Snake River, baby. Okay. There's actually some good Syrah, but Tempranillo there. Awesome. Awesome. Another place that strikingly reminds me of Rioja, except for the potatoes. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to mention Colorado. And
yes.
A place that, for those of us who love beverages, we associate with IPAs. That's beer country. It is becoming well known for surprisingly good wine. I've heard that touring vineyards there is an absolutely delightful experience. So I want to give Colorado a shout out. Grand Valley AVA seems to be the hot
Oh.
spot, and they are doing beautiful Gewürztraminer.
High elevation Gewürztraminer. All right, now I have to come up with something, and I got to think about this really quickly. Arizona. Now, shout out to Merkin Winery. Do not Google that, please. Now, Arizona, they're doing some Mourvedre that's outstanding. And this is one of those places that actually UC Davis came in and said, you know what you should be doing? You should be making Mourvedre. And everyone went, what's Mourvedre? And they're like, exactly. This is a fantastic overview of the world of American wines, the forgotten wines, the places, the things. And this actually, I just want to end just like, look, explore. As long as you're open to it, you're going to find amazing things. You're not going to find anything amazing when you go to Napa Valley and just go drink Cabernet. Heights Cellars, right? Great cabs, but my God, their Green Alina was the reason why I fell in love with that winery. There's so many things like that. And you're going to get a lot of respect. Look for that Saperavi. Look for those cab fronts. Find a Norton and realize oh my God, this is both dramatically interesting and also dramatically weird.
And there's a lot of negative news about the wine industry. And certainly when I first got into wine, if you had told me that hybrids were sometime in the future going to be beloved and championed on the East Coast, I would have been shocked. But wine, it's magical and it reinvents itself and it's always with us. So raise a glass, find something interesting, and join us again. We love doing these podcasts for you folks.
Absolutely. And if you are interested in wine and like this podcast, like and subscribe. I cannot express how important it is to our metrics, to everything. If you really want to learn something, if you want to be in the wine trade, check out the National Wine School. By far the best sommelier programs. They're available in the United States. The fact that I teach there is not the only reason why I'm saying this.
It's true.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be in the Philadelphia area, please join us for a class at the Wine School of Philadelphia, where you will find us teaching full-time. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, and if you want to see a video of this podcast, join us on our YouTube channel at Wine School USA.
Woo-hoo!
Cheers.
USA!